Recording. Welcome to the July 23rd Los Osos Community Advisory Council meeting. We'll get started with our roll call. Andrea Luker,
Present.
David Cheney,
Present.
Jim Salio.
Present.
We have a vacancy in District 2, if anybody's interested in putting their name in there. Alex Wolanowski, he's absent. We have a vacancy in District 3. District 4, Deborah Howe, that's me. Molly Brown.
Present.
And then our at-large person, John Lynn, is absent. Chairperson announcements. I don't have any announcements. Do we have any council member announcements? I don't see anybody raising their hand, so I'm going to say we'll move on. County and local reports. I don't see the sheriff. I don't think he's here this week or this month. Highway Patrol, no, don't see them. Maybe they'll show up later. They are supposed to be here in July. So moving right along, we'll get to Supervisor Gibson. Jim, are you doing that report? No.
Oh yeah, I want to
Oh,
listen. I want to
you,
listen to this.
I didn't see you.
Yeah, I've been watching him. We've got a break-in period here, and you know, well, not unfortunately, very fortunately, we certified the election on Tuesday, and then he's then he is taken into custody, and we we do it now.
Well, I'm going to pause you there for a moment, and welcome you, Bruce, to the meeting. I didn't see you pop in, but our sheriff has just shown up, and I'm going to let him go ahead and do his report so he can move on. So, Hank, do you want to unmute yourself and do your report?
Yes, good afternoon. Commander Boss here. As far as our call statistics for the month of June, we had a total of 413 calls. We responded to 67 different call types in Los Osos. And then of note, we conducted 38 enforcement stops, conducted a total of 49 preventative patrol activities, and responded to 33 disturbance calls. Also of note was obviously the 4th of July weekend. The sheriff's office, all 3 patrol divisions, including the sheriff's co-station, were in a maximum staffing period with 0 tolerance for fireworks and fireworks-related activity. And at the co-station, I believe we issued 4 or 5 or we're going to submit 4 or 5 criminal complaints to the district attorney's office for fireworks related violations, including one out of Los Osos. So generally speaking, and talking to members of the community throughout the Sheriff's Coast area, including Los Osos, it sounds like it was a much quieter evening than prior 4th of July's. So any feedback or input from anybody would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, that's what I have, unless anybody else has anything for me.
Andrea?
Thanks, Commander. I appreciate that. I am surprised to hear that there's community members that thought it was quieter. I will just say from my standpoint, I'm on 5th Street, so close to Baywood, which seems to be the epicenter at times. We were fireworking until 3 a.m.
Okay.
Not me,
Sure.
but there was a lot of action here. So
okay.
Yeah, that's curious. And yeah, I mean, and it's, who knows? It just seemed, and it wasn't really the fireworks. It was really the M80 type of the old day M80 type. So I don't know. I really appreciate all the work. I know it seems like it doesn't even matter how much staffing goes on. There's always going to be people that are, getting around it. But yeah, it seemed like it was bigger than normal. But
wow,
that's
okay.
just perspective from me.
Wow, okay, that's interesting because it was much quieter up here, up on the hill. It was noticeably better
Maybe they all came to Baywood.
uh, that's where the action is.
Yeah.
Um,
Molly's got a question, Deborah.
Molly.
Sorry.
Oh, there you
Unofficial
are.
hand up. So I'm in Cuesta by the Sea, and it was a lot quieter here. And what we used to have every year was those M80 types being launched at Cuesta Inlet, and there was hardly any noise from there. I also noticed like the day before and the next day, it was a lot quieter. So I guess at least in some parts of town, all that public information stuff in advance did help. I don't know what happened in Baywood. It sounds different, but at least parts of town, many people told me whatever their part of town they were in was quieter. So yeah, so I was overall pretty happy to hear that. But so anyway, thank you to the Sheriff's Department for all the hard work. I'm sure you guys were doing that whole weekend.
Yeah, and it was a collaborative effort. I think I heard Supervisor Gibson on here is between his office, Cal Fire,
Yeah.
planning and building, and the Highway Patrol and state parks. There was a lot of people that were interested in making sure that we. And again, the goal with the maximum enforcement and the education that we were doing prior to 4th of July was not to stop 4th of July, this 4th of July. We recognized that there were going to be fireworks, but with this enforcement strategy, the goal was to take enforcement action with the hopes that next year those people who were had action taken against them will tell their friends, and then next year will be less enforcement action taken against anybody that violates the law by utilizing and discharging illegal fireworks. Will tell their friends next year, and then the year after and the year after. So, with this strategy, we're hoping that over time we can reduce the impact of fireworks to, the community's enjoyment of their, beautiful area that they live in, and again, just kind of curtail it year over year. So.
And do you know if any of the municipalities are still selling the Safe and Sane fireworks like Grover Beach used to sell them?
I believe there are some of the municipalities that are selling Safe and Sane, but the reality is the Safe and Sane fireworks are not the ones that are causing, these types of disturbances. So like the aerial fireworks or like what was described as like the M80 fireworks are not safe and sane.
Oh, I know.
So
Yeah.
those are not
Yeah.
the problem that we're going after. But yes. So to answer your question, I believe there are municipalities that are selling them.
All right. Anybody else have a question? I have a question. Commander, was the sheriff's office involved in an incident down at Spooner's Cove with a little boy that apparently was underwater and they had to bring him up and do CPR or something? Are you familiar with that?
I mean, I know we've responded to some water rescues there have been responses to water rescues in the last week or so.
Mhm.
That we responded to. I'm not sure. So I don't know. Is there a timeline or a time frame of
Yeah, it
what?
was I think it was just last week. Was really recently. Apparently there was a little boy. I don't know any details. I was
Sure.
just uh, sort of something that I saw people were asking about on Nextdoor if the little boy was okay. And so,
So what I can say is this: is I do recall a Cal Fire unit that was responding to a water rescue. Again, it was within the last week.
mhm.
It was, or maybe earlier this week, the midday. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or something like that.
Yep.
We did not respond, which could be a good or bad thing. If we responded, it's potentially going to be as a result of for a corner case, meaning somebody passed. And I don't recall there being a corner case associated with that water rescue. So, I would deduce then that the child or that person involved in that recent water rescue ultimately was fine. But I have no other information. And something like that, I would have been notified as part of like a critical incident management notification process that we have with the sheriff's office. And that does not sound familiar to me that somebody of that age passed in the last week.
Well, that's good then that you don't know about it.
No, so you know what? Sometimes no news is good news, and I think that's definitely the case in this instance.
All right. So do we have any other questions for Commander Albus? I don't see any hands up, so thank you so much for coming. And do we expect you to come quarterly now? Is that what we're looking at?
So I am going to try to make it as often as I can. I apologize for I haven't been to the last several meetings, and again, I apologize for that. It's I think these meetings are important for myself, my agency, and the community, so that we can have an open dialogue. There was direction from my administration that we begin attending quarterly, but I'm going to just try to communicate with you guys and attend as often as I can. If I can't make something, I'm going to try to be more proactive with letting you folks know that I won't be present. But yeah, I'm going to try to be here as much as I can.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I know we all appreciate the fact that you're busy and you have, last minute things that come up. So we love it when you come because we get to ask you questions. But if you can't be here, just, let us know, or you can even send me a little email or something and I'll read whatever you want to, communicate.
Absolutely. And at any point in time, anybody can reach out to me. I know, ma'am, you have my email, so if anybody
I
wants to
do.
send you my info, they can, or send any question to you. You can forward it. Give them my email. They can reach out to me directly. Obviously, we're at 10th and Los Olivos. Can come on by. I'd give my office number, but that's hit and miss getting me there. So email is the best. Or if I'm there, come on by.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. All right. So now back to Supervisor Gibson.
Thank,
We'll let
thank
you
you,
get
Madam
going.
Chair. Well, Commander Boss is still here. Let me add my thanks for all his great work, and particularly in the matter of his community engagement and involvement. That's something that started in around the time that I took office with one of the legendary members of the Sheriff's Department, eventually Under Sheriff Marty Basti, who was commander at the coast station for a long time, and he started going to advisory council meetings. And I can't tell you the change that his presence there. I mean, this was in person as well, and he was just absolutely committed to being there in person almost every month. And the department has continued just a really proud tradition of being available to the community for discussions just like this one. I hope the department feels it's gotten as much out of this as the communities have. But the real tailoring of these precious resources in public safety to the problems that the community has is really helped by the knowing the community at the level that these folks do. And similarly, about that same time, and just to speak to the question of illegal fireworks, to my knowledge, there are 4 jurisdictions. Like I can't I can't name all of them, that still allow safe and sane. I think overall the fire protection services would prefer that they go away, and that's all part of setting the expectation of what constitutes a safe celebration of the 4th of July. Things were very quiet in most of the county, and we certainly appreciate that there are pockets where it might not be so. But the philosophy here is really maximum presence. With 93% of available field staff were on duty, plus CAL FIRE, plus County Fire, plus CAL FIRE's law enforcement division sent folks here. So it does take time. When all this started, it was just aimed at general rowdiness around the Cayucas Pier. That took 4 or 5 years, and that scene has changed dramatically. We're now putting resources to illegal fireworks. It's going to be a process. We got to reset a community expectation. But I do think that that huge presence, plus modern technology like drones and the social host ordinance that says the discharge of an illegal firework can be eventually tied, if it can be tied back to a piece of private property, the owner of that property is responsible for that illegal act. All that together is we've made a lot of progress. So we continue the ad hoc committee, Supervisor Paulding and I expect next year it'll be Supervisor Dantona and Supervisor Paulding, since our two coastal districts are the hot spots here, and we'll just keep at it. Uh, as to the rest of it, not a huge amount of Los Osos specific news to report. I'm told, because Jim's been handling this, that Public Works and Planning have worked with the tree committee, the Lintz, Ms. Luker, others to get a project teed up somewhere in the neighborhood of the community park. Is that right? Near the skate park, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yes. I was going to give
And
kudos to Jim at a
so,
later in a minute
yeah,
on that.
yeah, do it, do it. He's had the point on this, and as with many things governmental, it was more complicated than a reasonable human being outside the halls of government might think, but it got done. So we're glad for that. And then elsewhere in Los Osos news, we keep going. We keep going on trying to figure out retrofit, how to tailor a retrofit to build ordinance so that we actually save water. We can continue the pipeline of the the modest building rate that we have set. All those things are under discussion. They'll be popping up at the Basin Management Committee and in front of the Board of Supervisors as the year goes on. And the rest of it, I'm looking at notes that Jim wrote for me. Next week, a week from tonight, there will be what's being billed as an information session about the future of extending Diablo Canyon power plant beyond the now pretty much solidified target of extending it to 2030. There is interest being expressed in Sacramento to extend it to 2045. That's certainly PG&E's interest. Our board signed on. I'll just, unless you're interested, won't get into too much of the details. I dissented because they signed on with unconditional advocacy for that extension. And I think the issue for this county is we need to understand in more detail than we have right now the impacts, environmental and otherwise, the operational risks and how they're being managed. And all those are being updated and subject to peer review, we hope, in coming weeks. We need to be sure that our schools and other jurisdictions are getting a fair cut of what is the equivalent of property tax that has been a bit of a bumpy ride, and just a whole bunch of other issues. I'll have an opinion piece apparently appearing in the Tribune tomorrow online and in print on Sunday, where I lay out the issues. I'm working with Senator Laird's office. He is of the same mind that the board was premature in their unconditional advocacy for Diablo Canyon. He's got a huge list of things he's working on should any legislation get crafted, whether it's in the last month of session, which convenes on August 3 for 4 weeks, or whether it gets carried over into the next legislative session, which starts next January. We need to have some things very carefully considered to the benefit of this county as well as ratepayers and taxpayers elsewhere. So, complicated issue. My expectation, it's likely that Diablo will be extended. I don't have any problem with that should all these details be properly resolved. So that's that, and happy to take questions.
Okay. Well, Let's start with council members. Does anybody have a question for Supervisor Gibson? Molly, I see your hands up.
It's not really a question, but I just wanted to say thanks for getting garbage service back up at Pasadena
Oh,
Pasadena Beach.
yeah. Well, thank you, Molly, and thanks all that worked on it. You know, in this time of budget challenges. I mean, we always have budget challenges, but they seem to be getting more intense. I really appreciate the ability of the community to work with us. And again, it took a long time, relatively speaking, to the size of that project, but I really appreciate those in the community that stepped up to help us be able to make it happen. And glad it could.
Any other questions for Supervisor Gibson? Okay, well, I have a question.
Sure.
We've mentioned a couple of times at previous meetings that we would like to get an update about the Habitat Conservation Plan. I know Mason has reached out to the people who are involved with that, but I haven't ever heard back from anybody as far as yes, they would come, yes, they would talk to us, yes, they would give us an update.
Sure.
I think we need a little more encouragement, perhaps, from you,
Oh,
Supervisor Gibson, to
nice.
say this is a very important issue for Los Osos, and it affects many levels.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I saw my chief of staff writing a note. That means it will get done. And I'm happy to put my name on it as as we did.
great,
No,
great.
we'll absolutely follow up on that. That should be a simple thing, and we'll get the info communicated. I know we are in the midst, some credits have been mobilized. Opportunities exist to create more credits, so it's moving, and we'll get the latest word and find out when would be a good time to report.
So when you say credits have been issued, Um, how does that translate into people who have permits and have been waiting for those? Are there sufficient credits for someone to actually build a house? Because I
Yeah.
haven't necessarily seen any
Yeah.
building going on. That doesn't mean that it's not happening. I just haven't seen
Right.
it.
So yeah, this is yeah, here's the third example of something that's more complicated than I'd like it to be and takes much longer than any reasonable person should expect. But it's just over the last 2 years, 2025 and 2026, that we've had opportunity. Nothing moved forward in 2025. I think we have a couple projects, at least one, maybe two, that can move forward in 2026. They are working on securing, if not already secured, the habitat conservation HCP credits. The way it works is that the credits are accumulated by us restoring habitat in the conservation zone or buying parcels in the conservation zone and turning them over to permanent protection. We have restored, done some work in the eucalyptus grove that has created some credits. We are actively soliciting an effort to purchase other properties that would very quickly create some more credits. How many, I don't know exactly. The distribution of them goes to a couple of different buckets. One of them is new residential development. I think another bucket is commercial development, and the third bucket is some public projects like, for instance, that Jim, jump in here. You've got the details. That was one of the questions of this landscaping project by the park, is that it disturbed habitat that needed to be offset, so those credits needed to be arranged somehow. Do I have that right?
It was what they were going to do. We got them to waive that and say, well, it's already disturbed since
Curb.
it's right up
Okay.
against there with the curb and the gutter. But yeah, the public project I think is Golden State Water's well
Yeah.
is
Monitoring well, right.
yeah, it had to get HCP credits, and that was one big adopter of a pretty substantial portion of them.
Okay.
So, but they're segregated into different types so that not all of it goes to public projects, not all of it goes to residential. It'll get going. We're in early stages here, and it just takes time to work through the details.
So here's my concern. As I recall, this was presented as an $8 million project. The Habitat Conservation Plan was an $8 million budget item, and it was given $2 million, not the eight, not four, not six, but two, which apparently was enough to get it sort of up and running. But is there really money for going out and purchasing land? Is there really money for doing mitigation? Because if you don't have that, you create this bottleneck.
Yeah.
I don't know how you squeeze through that.
Well, so I think I'm not sure where the $8 million comes from. What I recall was that planning staff came to the board and said they needed 3 million, basically a line of credit up to $3 million of internal county funds, because we have to create the credits before we sell them and get ourselves repaid. So this is the money that the county has advanced is essentially seed money that eventually will get repaid to the county coffers, and enough funding established on an ongoing basis. And this could be augmented, I think, by grants to do restoration, potentially grants to do preservation. But eventually, this is starting from zero, and we have enough money. I think it was three, and we have up to three allocated, and that is enough to do 5 years of residential development, if I remember correctly, if we look at the typical prices. So we just need to get those properties acquired and those habitats restored to actually see the credits become real.
Okay, well, it'd be great to get that update.
Sure.
Andrea, I see your hands up.
This may or may not be able to be answered tonight, but a couple folks have asked me, of the three buckets, can the credits be transferred, let's say, from the community project bucket, which I think we're mostly interested in, to maybe the residential bucket, or are those buckets set and the credits are only for those projects, or is that something you can answer tonight?
And again, Jim, if you know that, I think they are pretty set, but I'll let you jump in since you've been right in it there.
Yeah, so they've been set. It is 50% in residential, of which 25 to the old exclusion area or the people on waiting list, 25% there, 25% for the folks outside the exclusion area.
Prohibition zone.
Prohibition
Right.
zone, sorry. And then the rest is set for community projects. I think it was 40%, and then community projects, and then 10% was like maintenance, like for public works maintenance. Okay. So the one thing that does happen here is it looks like planning, and Corey Hahn is the person we'll get to come explain it because it's intricate. But those buckets are set, except if people don't use them. So if somebody says, here, if we're giving 5,000 credits, let's say for a residential or commercial project, actually, that's the one I missed, was like 15% for commercial. If those commercial projects end up not getting their permit and those go back in, then we can set them to something else, a project that's proposed that didn't get credits. And that has a lot to do with who got their applications in, what was priority, what was left off. So that's the only part where it starts to move around.
Okay, and it could move to a different bucket.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Well, love to have Corey back. He used to be our liaison, and this is my sneaky way of getting him to show up.
We'll ask him.
Are there any more questions from council members before we open it up to the public? I do not see any hands, so Jeff Edwards, you're on.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Edwards, and having some experience with the HCP, I wanted to just make a few comments and points of clarification. The difficulty with the HCP is the result of the stay-ahead provision in the incidental take permit, which requires the credits to be created in advance of their allocation. It's made the program pretty clunky. The board of supervisors loaned Los Osos $2 million for pursuit of this project, of which I believe we're down to about 1.6, 1.65. And that has to suffice for not only land acquisition, but also a monitoring plan that is going out to bid here soon. Um, the the buckets for community and public infrastructure are flexible and I think you guys concluded that for credits that are left over, they will be reallocated to residential and commercial. Um, my biggest concern is the pace at which this acquisition process is unfolding. And for full disclosure, I'm representing multiple property owners that are potentially available for acquisition. But based on the pace that the county's currently on, these credits may not be available until 2027. So again, my concern is the protracted nature of this. I know we can do better, do it more quickly. Realizing the service is kind of looking over our shoulder on virtually everything we do, but I think it can get done. Um, but we've really got to focus on this. And in my view, 2027 is unacceptable. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, so you're really echoing my concerns, which is the slow pace that this is going on. Certainly, people have put a lot on the line to get their permits to build their dream homes, and they're running into this wall. And I'm going to be very blunt about the fact that it cuts deep when I see $10 million going to the Bob Jones Trail, which is a great project. However, it doesn't build a home and it doesn't provide, infrastructure such as a sewer. And it's really difficult to see that amount of money, staff time, legal time that goes into a project. It's a sexy project, no doubt about it. But when we can't get basic things like this critical plan up and running in an efficient way and other things, then it hurts. So that's my comment.
Well, I'll just respond briefly, Madam Chair, that the program is up and running. I think we have a half-time person
Okay.
hired to attend to it. It may not be running as fast as some would like. And the matter of other projects in the county, once one digs into those, one finds that the money for the Bob Jones Trail comes from a state grant, transportation grant that can only be used for transportation projects. So it's not that we're doing one thing at the expense of another. In fact, I think it is a remarkable accomplishment that the Board of Supervisors was willing to part with 2 million or whatever the amount was. I had it in my mind as three of general fund, essentially, that was in the bank that could be used for a lot of different things, and committed to getting this going. There is a stay ahead provision there. That is the nature of these projects as dictated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So again, as I've said a number of times this evening, government does not move as quickly as we should, nor as quickly as a lot of people think we should. And I can only tell you that our office has worked hard to make it move as fast as it can. So we'll keep on it, and we'll get you the information, and we'll, keep advocating for Los Osos to make this happen. It's a lot of good. I mean, we see things like, the effort. I think the decision of the board to advance funds is confirmed. It's certainly going to be my message to my colleagues. It's confirmed by the extraordinary effort of the community to go out and pass a tax on itself to buy Sunnyside. And so some things that happen at Sunnyside are going to need HCP credits probably. And District 2 office will be here to advocate in the strongest possible terms to get that to happen. So I appreciate that there's frustration, but we are getting it done the best we can with what we got.
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I know, this is not an easy conversation, but that's why we're here, right?
You bet. No,
That's our job.
your advocacy on behalf of your community is exactly why you're here. So I take this that's all, and by no means the most difficult conversation I've had in my tenure, but that's why you're here, and that's what gives us energy to do our jobs.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any other questions for Supervisor Gibson? I don't see any hands. Mason is here. Yes. Okay, Mason, your turn.
Right, heavy topic to follow. Mason Dennings, Will County Planning and Building. It's been a few months. Have had conflicts with my stepson's soccer on Thursdays, and luckily in that time frame there has not been very many land use items, if any. So I'm here tonight. We'll stand by for any questions that there is pertaining to development. I'm not extremely helpful on the LOHCP. We keep that pretty divided between separate teams, and for good reason. I think there's 2 items for you guys to consider on the consent agenda, so I'll stick around for any questions on those. I did kind of want to plug, so following Supervisor Gibson and Mr. D'Antona, I also reached out and just sent a quick message to our LOHCP team and did note that that the advisory council would be requesting additional information. And then we do have a website for Los Osos that's updated pretty regularly. I can distribute that to Ms. Howe this evening so that it can be sent out to the advisory council. And actually, I'll just go ahead and put it in chat in a moment. I think the latest update on that website was in May. Some of you may have seen it, I think late last year when it was additionally updated then, but there's a little bit more information there on the process, maybe not on the credits or the buckets or anything that Supervisor Gibson and Mr. D'Antona were speaking to, but there is quite a bit of information there on what the process will look like for both discretionary entitlements and then for our building permits. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it back. I think there was a presentation to your land use committee from our long range staff pertaining to a housing item that I wasn't even privy to. So I'll look to Ms. Brown and Mr. Salio to give a brief overview of that, and we'll also be available for questions, but I may have to circulate some of that through our long range staff. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mason. Good to see you. All right. CSD report. You need to unmute yourself.
All right.
There you are.
I'm unmuted. Hello, everybody. Rich Hubbard here from CSD. Few things, mostly the big thing, of course, is the sunny side. We're gearing up for a master planning process. This will be a 3-pronged connected process, looking at the needs assessment, community visioning, there we go, and feasibility. And to do this, we are going to establish a steering committee that will be basically representatives from CSD, Parks Los Osos, Parks and Recreation Committee, and community members with the relative experience that will be able to make decisions on parks planning, recreation planning, landscape architecture, property management, and other related fields that might be needed for this. And basically, they're just going to be they're going to provide guidance for the planning. The CSD will be reaching out to different people. Andrea Luker is going to be on this steering committee. But basically, it's going to take, going to take time. There'll be a lot of opportunities for the public to be involved in this. I'd say keep checking the CSD website to get any updated information on this project. But that is the plan right now to form this steering committee that will then take on the onus of figuring out what we need to do. And that comes from the need assessment, where we're going to be looking at existing parks and recreation facilities. And when we say existing, we're talking about not only Los Osos, we're talking about the schools, we're talking about the Morro Bay area, just to make sure that we aren't duplicating effort as far as creating something that is already there. We have the data from the community visioning part of it, where we had that large meeting at Sunnyside to determine what the people wanted, and that's definitely going to be looked at. But also the feasibility of doing what is possible physically, financially, and operationally. So again, and I've said this at the meetings before, this is going to be a long process. Hopefully the steering committee will be able to give us a little more guidance on that, as far as what we need to do, because again, the reason for it is to get people that know what is involved in running a park, basically, and what you can do, what you can't do, that kind of stuff. So anyways, that is what's going on right now, as far as pretty much figuring out who we can get. And anybody who would like to volunteer should contact the CSD. And we definitely want as much input from as many people as possible. But again, we want to make sure we get the right people on the steering committee that have the experience and know what to do in this particular situation. So anyways, that's pretty much what we got going on with Sunnyside right now. We have hired a district, we have hired an assistant general manager. His name is Eric, and Andrew, you might be able to help this. Ridabal. I guess Andrea is away for a second there, but Eric Ridabal, who was working for the city of Morro Bay as a city engineer, he's going to be working closely with Greg Kwolek to basically assist him. And because we knew that Ron Munns had a very overwhelming workload, and so we decided that Greg would need an assistant. So he's been chosen. As far as when he starts, it'll depend on if all the other things go well, as far as his the stipulations that go with that, and making sure that everything is all the qualifications, or all the what I want to say here. We want to make sure that he's ready to go, and that he realizes what's happening. But as far as everything so far, it looks like he's going to be a good fit, and we're pretty excited to have him on the team. We have nominations a period from Monday, July 13th to August 7th for 3 positions that are open on the CSD. Now, they're not really open as far as we're not sure who's going to want to come back as far as getting reelected. But again, anybody who wants to run against those folks is more than welcome to do so. And um, if they do not want to run, then we'll find out who might be available to run against them, or who might run. And I myself was appointed a year and a half ago when one of the supervisors decided not to run, and nobody came forward to run against them. So that's always a possibility too. That's probably the major aspects right now of what we're working on. Again, Sunnyside taking the bulk of the time, and hopefully Eric will be a very valuable tool in helping us get stuff done. That's all I got.
Okay, well, thank you, Rich. Any questions for Rich? Jim Celio, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Rich, when will the CSD be the owners of the Sunnyside property?
Okay, that's a good question. What we have to do, basically, we can't, because of stipulations, or not political, but well, I guess you could call it political stipulations. We can only take on so much debt. So we have to do a loan type thing. And it's 14 years, basically, for payments on this particular loan. And but we will be able to do improvements or whatever on it, as long as the school district says, hey, you're okay with it. So they will technically still own it, but we will be the leases, basically. And just like when you rent a house or something like that, if you want to do anything to it, you just ask the owner if you can, and if they say yes, you go ahead and do it. And we don't foresee any really big problems with that. I mean, they know that we're very excited about having this property, and that we want to make it the best thing possible.
So basically, any development changes, or any development of that property has to be approved by San Luis Coastal Unified School District.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, David, I see your hands up.
Yeah, just when you do I think the inventory of the parks and related resources for the areas is great. I hope we can also indicate what the availability is, what hours they're available. I mean, even as a long time, as a resident here, I have no idea when I can actually use this, a school tennis court, or when the pickleball has things. And I think it'd actually be a resource that might be useful to the community, and maybe even in tourism related activities as well.
Yeah, that will definitely be a consideration, and that goes into the thing of the needs assessment. Basically, if there's like somebody wants a dance class or something like that, and there's already dance classes being available somewhere else in this, even in the Los Osos or the Los Osos area, including Morro Bay. We'll have to really fine tune it to see what exactly we can, or what we should do. As far as hours go, that'll be part of that whole thing. It's really hard to say right now what the hours would be, but that will be part of the process.
Okay. Any other council member questions for the CSD? Okay, then moving on. Jeff, I see your hands up.
Hi, thanks. My name is Jeff Edwards, and I just wanted to answer Jim's question. When would the CSD own the property? 2040 is the date.
14 years, yeah.
The current format that's being negotiated is a lease option, where the lease payments apply to the purchase price. The problem with that not having fee title, and I mentioned this at the Parks and Rec committee meeting the other night, and Shauna Sullivan knows this. If you don't have fee title, you can't get a loan to make improvements because you can't collateralize the land. It's unlikely you would be able to get a grant because you don't own the land. I have 45 years of experience in real estate, and the whole approach in this matter has been misplaced, shall I say. So, as I mentioned to the Parks and Rec committee the other night, good luck. They're going to need it. Thanks.
Okay, do I have any other comments for the CSD? Rich, do you know much about the weed abatement activity within Los Osos?
Not really. I know that I think the deadline was July 1st for that. And I'm sure you're going to say, well, there's still a lot of places that still need that weed abatement. And that's probably a good thing to bring up at the next CSD meeting because I believe CAL FIRE would be the ones to ask about that. I don't know if they're just overwhelmed with the amount of weed abatement warrants that they have to dish out or what. But yeah, I'm not particularly knowledgeable on that particular aspect, but you're right that the weeds should be gone by now. I mean, we're already halfway, almost 2/3 of the way through the month. And
Tom, I see your hands up. Maybe you have something to add?
Yes, I do. The CSD is going to be holding a public hearing to decide for us, I believe, to go in and abate the properties that haven't been abated yet. And let me try and find August 20th, I believe.
Okay. All right, great. Because I know there's been a lot of chatter on Nextdoor about why haven't the weeds been cut down. I know you go back and charge the property owner if you have to do that for them. And so I guess it's just getting a little bit of a late start this year.
Yeah, that is definitely a process, though. You have to contact the owners. They have to get back to you. I'm sure there's a lot of not stalling or whatever, but a lot of communications that have to happen for that for them to either be billed or for them to actually do the weed abatement.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? All right. Well, thank you, Rich. Thanks for coming tonight. Chamber of Commerce report. Jim's not here to do a chamber report, but I will report that the chamber has put out a new map. If you've never seen the chamber map, I'm going to show you what the old one looks like. And I'm excited to see that they've bringing out a new map. I use this map all the time. One of the things that I love about it is it shows the dirt roads in Los Osos. And apparently their new map is totally updated with a lot of new information. And it is perhaps exactly the right place to put in information about when you can use facilities like a pickleball court or a basketball court or, any of those things that you were asking about, David. This might be a really good place to have that information as part of the chamber packet. So just wanted to let you know about that. And I guess that will suffice for the chamber report. Oh, you can pick up one of these maps at the chamber office, and then it's also available at a number of businesses throughout town, but I don't have that list. Okay, public comments for items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments? Not seeing any hands, so I'm going to assume that that's a no. Let's move on to consent agenda. Jim, do you want to introduce those land use items?
Sure.
Deborah, did you do committee reports or is that later?
They're at the they're later.
Sorry.
Okay.
Jim.
It's okay. The first item we have on the consent agenda is a residential project. It's actually a family residence vacation rental. Jeff's here for that. Jeff, anything you want to say on that property?
Thank you, Jim, and through the chair. Not really. I am here if there are any questions. Meets all the criteria. We answered whatever questions there were at land use and simply asked that it be moved along. Thank you.
Right. It's I believe it's number 44 on our 50 allowed vacation rentals. It has no vacation rentals within 500 feet of the property. Seems like a good location for a vacation rental. So land use had no problem moving it forward. And then the second item, there's nobody here on the second item. Sam Kreiser presented. He's the Kreiser Contracting is the one that's doing the renovation. It's a home on Via Vista Osa, which is a private road up in Bayview Heights. They are adding a enclosed deck and then building a new master bedroom over one of the existing decks. Like I said, it's on a private road. The neighbors are all part of the private community there. Didn't hear any complaints from any of the neighbors or anything like that. It's a pretty straightforward project. So we approved that unanimously as well.
Okay. All right. So all we need is a motion to accept these consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent
Okay.
items.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Molly. Okay. So David and Molly, all in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? I don't see anything. All right, great. The consent agenda items have been passed unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We don't have any regular agenda items, so we'll move on to committee reports. Treasurer's report. Well, right now we don't have a treasurer. So I'm going to give you your treasurer's report. There is essentially no change in our financial situation, with the exception of we earned 12 cents interest, and our balance is $2,999.14. We'll move on to land use, but I don't think you have anything, do you, Jim?
No, as Mason mentioned, we had a presentation by Dominic Del Porta on he's working on the implementation of the California law that passed about lot splitting and a multi-use residential. So they're finished. They just finished the urban one, and now they're working on the coastal one. But in reality, it won't affect us. It's because we're exempt because of that we're under a conservation plan. So if you're under a conservation plan, you're exempt from the state ordinance. So no change, but it is going to the board. They're planning to take it to the board September 10th to do the coastal plan.
Okay, great. Any questions for Jim? All right, tree and landscaping.
Yeah,
Andrew?
and I'm glad Bruce is still on. I just wanted to give a big thanks to Bruce's office and specifically Jim D'Antona, who met with John Lint and I to talk about the project of planting the area between the sidewalk and Los Osos Valley Road near the community park. We did get our encroachment permit, and we also got approval from Fish and Wildlife for native low plants in that area. The last step is really to be able to use recycled water, and we're still working on that. But I think it's really important to say that we reached out because the project had kind of gone on for 3 years, not particular anybody's fault. And I would say that, we worked with planning and public works and parks, and they were all responsive. I just think we kind of have kind of needed a Mayo Clinic moment where all the people got in the same room and talked about the project and figured out what everybody was doing. So anyway, we're really excited to move forward and very appreciative. So again, a shout out to Jim and to Bruce. Thank you for that, and to planning, since Mason's on here too.
Well, and Andrew, just to give you a heads up, I know I sent it to John. I don't know if he forwarded it on, but Parks obviously says yes, we can figure out how to get that water over, that recycled water under that part. They said they can't do it, but I'm talking to a couple others to see if we can figure out a way to make that happen.
I'm betting we can figure it out. Thank you.
That's great. That's really great. I love your analogy, Andrea, the Mayo Clinic moment.
Yeah.
Those are very useful. Okay, any questions for tree and landscaping? I don't see anything. Active transportation, we actually did not have a meeting this month in July. However, I thought I would share some pictures from our Kittical Mass. We scheduled that for Baywood. Really had no idea how many people were going to show up. It was a Saturday morning from 10. It started at 10. We met at the pier. And I'm just going to show you some highlights. We had a huge, huge showing.
Oh, wow.
This is just one little part of the number of people who came. This is at the beginning. Let's see if we have, oh yeah, they're dogs. I want to show you some of the other ones. Like people were just like, these kids were amazing. And we did a loop around, we went down 2nd Street. We took Pasadena, looped around Pasadena, came back around onto 3rd Street, which was about all some of these really little guys could do. There were some really little people, some people on scooters. It was so much fun and it was so successful that we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it in August 29th, and that will be after school starts. So, yeah, here's some cuties. Oh, you're doing your scooter? So you had everybody there. You had scooters, you had people with their dogs, you had adults, you had grandparents. It was a great community event. And so I don't know where we're going to do it in August, but I expect we're going to have an even bigger turnout. Safety is part of this. Riding in a group, but also they do a little, safety education, telling you how to fit your helmet, making sure it's properly on your head and that kind of thing. So that's the kind of stuff I like to share with you. And that's my report for transportation. So
That's
now
great,
move on to, thank you, Andrea. Move on to our business items, which has to do specifically about our nomination of officers. We found out that our bylaws indicated we were supposed to do a secret ballot for officers, but obviously that was a hangover from when we used to meet in person. Can't really do a secret ballot when we're working on Zoom or doing email. So we've decided to make a change in the bylaws. You should all have a copy of it with the highlighted section that to be changed. Any discussion about that? Any questions about what we're doing and how it's, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to recommend on item number 1 in the highlighted area that Andrea put together, just that we spell out what the next year is, because it's actually, we're on a fiscal year. We go well, actually it's not even a fiscal year. We go from June 1st to the end of May is our regular year. So we should just say next year, from June 1st until May 31st.
I can make that change.
So it's clear,
Okay.
so people just don't get it confused that it's the calendar year.
Okay.
Very good point. We'll add that in, so we'll make that correction or addition. Any other points people want to make or discussion on this? Not seeing anything. So do I have a motion to accept these changes to the bylaws?
I'll make that motion.
Jim, okay.
Andrea will second.
Andrea, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, great. So now we can move on to the actual appointing, nominating, and appointment of officers, starting with a nomination for the chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Deborah Howe for chair.
Okay,
I'll
thank you for
second.
that. Are there any other nominations?
No,
Okay.
everybody's just doing a sigh of relief.
All right. Nominations are closed. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. And then we can now move on to accepting nominations for the other positions, which would be vice chair and treasurer. I need a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Andrea for vice chair.
Okay, any other nominations? All right. Nominations are closed.
Oh, we did get a second. Do we get a second?
Yeah, okay, let's get a second.
I'll second it.
There we go.
David, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Andrea raises her hand.
Thank you,
She
Jim.
accepted, of course.
You
All
never
right,
know.
so Andrea will be our vice chair for next year, and treasurer. Nomination for treasurer.
I'll nominate David Cheney for treasurer.
I'll second.
Okay,
That's Andrea.
okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're all set. We have
It
our
got
three
faster
new
and faster as
officers.
we got down the road, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are a pretty well-tuned group, I'll just say.
Yeah. Well, and it's notable that we didn't give anybody who wasn't here a position they didn't want.
Yes.
Right, because they weren't here. But okay, that's wonderful. All excited to work with the council again this year. It's going to be a
So
great
can
year.
I just
We
ask
have-
a point of on the so are we not going to have a secretary? Because I mean it's in our bylaws
It
Yeah.
is.
And communications officer, right?
and communications officer. I mean, I don't care one way or the other, but I think we should either well, I mean,
Change.
we could leave them as
Yeah.
a vacant position, I guess, if that's what we want to do, or get rid of them altogether.
It would certainly be nice to have a secretary, I think, and a communications officer for that. Maybe when, and we don't want to, Molly, we don't mean to X you out, because if you're interested in a secretary position, I didn't think so. Nobody wants to be secretary. Although secretary holds all the power. We all know that.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
oh yeah.
Yes.
But maybe what we do is when we get our new members, try to fill those positions. I think we should leave them in at this point.
Okay. We can always fill
So-
them later.
Yeah, I here's my thought on it. Both positions, secretary and communications director, take very specific skills.
Yeah.
If you don't have those skills, you're not going to be successful. And so better to leave them vacant. But if the right person steps up, like for instance, Alex could perhaps be a communication person, but we're not really sure. He's working on the website right now. We have some work to do there. And then once that's developed, he might grow into that position. But I think it's a little early to put that on him. He's brand new and really just finding his way. And secretary, yeah, they have all the power. They also have all the responsibility. So, You
And
got
we
to have the
really
right
don't take,
person for that.
and we don't take meeting minutes, do we?
Yeah,
Correct. No, we
right.
do not.
And so, and then who sends our final decisions on land use issues to planning?
Me.
Molly.
Molly, but though, so Molly, do you do it after the board approves the item?
Yeah. I mean, I send
Okay.
them the results of our land use
Land
meetings,
use.
but I also send them the results of the regular meetings.
Okay, so
So
you're
this
doing that.
something.
So
Yeah.
okay.
So
She's kind of our secretary.
Molly's kind
She's
of
kind of
already
de facto secretary.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of be nice sometimes to have a summary of decisions that the council
Yeah.
agrees to, which are what you normally
It
look
would
for the
be,
minutes. You
yeah.
don't really want to, you don't want to watch an hour and a half video to try to, remember what happened. But
At least
Well,
any
we did
votes we
talk
take.
about that before, right?
yeah,
There is a summary that's developed by AI on Zoom. And the problem is that it mixes in some stuff that's not really relevant, or it could be like personal comments or asides. And
yeah,
so at one time I thought I would go through and sort of clean it up and have it available. And you know what? That's a
it's
lot
a
of
lot of
work.
work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
And
maybe,
I have to say too, is like the secretaries in our organization for a long time have always been women. Men, a lot of men have never been willing to like put an agenda together. I'm not saying you men, I'm saying men in general have been less willing to do this.
Including you men. But
I'll have you know I am the secretary of our Rotary Club. Okay, there you go.
we're so proud.
wow,
Good
okay.
job. Thank you.
Okay,
Just so you
well,
know.
you know what you're talking about then.
Yeah, so you're a perfect secretary.
But really isn't much for the secretary to do.
No, it's not that much, but it's a
But
reminder
Molly's
of the
taking
old
care of it.
world of work too.
So Tom Cross says he was the secretary and it wasn't that bad. Yes, but Tom, you're not here anymore. I think we have a vacancy in that district. Just saying. All right. Well, let's leave them in and perhaps, we'll fill it out as we get our vacancies filled. That would be great. Um, our last item would be the website. Alex is not here. He's on his way to Serbia for a family wedding, which is kind of cool. Um, and I just want to mention the website. You've all had a glimpse at his draft website. It's not complete, but we do need each one of you to create a bio. And I'm going to ask that when you do your short little bio, that you start off with telling us why you wanted to be on LOCAC and what your motivation is. And if you have a special interest, like for instance, tree and landscape, or for me, transportation. I think you need to put that out there right up front so people know why you're here, where you're really engaged. Um, because all of your history stuff is interesting and relevant, but not as relevant as why are you here? And that way they can find the person that really matches their interest or their question or their whatever they want to bring forward. So one of the things for the website is to make it really more relevant to the community so that they can get there and find information that's going to be useful to them. So we're going to really try to make that do some magic there. Alex is really good with using AI, and so he can make changes and create things very quickly. So put your thinking caps on, especially the chairs of the committees, of what information you want up, out, up, right up front, um, and making it so that it really becomes relevant to the community. Any questions, comments, ideas? All right.
How do we access the future website again?
I'll
Have
send
you
you the
sent
link.
us a link or something?
It's on
Yeah, it's live. You can go look at it. You set it out, Deborah.
it's called Lovable is the platform. So if you go through your emails and just type in Lovable, it might pop up. It's a link that Alex sent out.
Okay.
I don't
We
have
just don't
it.
we
If
don't
you
want to
don't
make it
find it,
public
Molly, let
yet.
me know.
Yeah.
It's not for public yet because it's
Not
just
that.
a holding place. It doesn't have real information on it. It's conceptual. Okay. All right. I think that's it. I thank you all for coming, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.